I look exactly the same as I did in the last DuckTank Talk video because I just recorded them back to back. This is another thing that I wanted to talk about for a fair bit, and this one's a little bit more ranty, but it's something that's been bugging the crap out of me for a couple of years now, and that is the fact that I absolutely hate when I see people talk about customs as fixing a toy. I'm not opposed to using the term, fixing whatever toy when it pertains to actually fixing it. Like if it's got a QC problem that might be widespread or even semi-common, it's like, this is how you fix it. That's fine. I get that. It's specifically when it pertains to customs. When it's like, here's the stock figure and it's been fixed by painting it up and all that. Because it's just so mean-spirited and reductive. I'm not trying to defend Hasbro, the company, because it's a company. It doesn't need defending, and like virtually every company in the US, it sucks for a number of different, usually common reasons. But the thing is, Hasbro, the company, is not making these toys. They're producing these toys, yes, but they're not making them. There are people, individual people, that are designing and working around the various issues to create these figures. We know some of them by name because they appear in live streams regularly. And it's just so insulting and mean to see people refer to this, the work that these people do as something that, fixed it for you. That is obnoxiously insulting. And some of this I take personally, and I admit I take this personally because I do visual artwork sometimes. I do writing. I know what it's like to do something creative or try to do something creative that, maybe it's imperfect. I mean, it's definitely imperfect. Everything that humans create is imperfect. Criticizing something, pointing out something's flaws or things might be able to, be fixed, that's fine. But when you take this attitude of, you did this wrong, here, let me fix it for you, that is just insufferable. That is one of the worst things I've seen people do when it comes to any kind of artistic thing. And yes, these transforming pieces of plastic are a form of art. Not Hasbro stuff, but like the box art is done by humans. At least for now it is. Who knows if that'll change in the future with what happened with the Superion teaser art. But the artwork on the boxes is done by people. The figures that we hold in our hands are designed by people. If not one specific person, then two, maybe even three. There's a lot of different processes that go into it, including the actual overall design to get it to, work within a physical 3D space. Things like what materials to use, the different tolerances, what colors, where the paint goes, all that stuff. It is an artistic endeavor. It is a piece of art. And that attitude of, oh, I fixed it for you, is just so obnoxious. Now, I feel like I'm going over the same thing over and over again, so I'm going to actually defer to the notes that I've set up for myself on this before going into it. But like designers who are designing toys, like they are working within a set framework. There's things like, at least as far as we know, I don't know for sure about like the specifics. I've never designed toys, but like from what I've heard, from what I've seen, from what I've gleaned from the live streams that the actual designers talk about, there are things to consider when it comes to creating these toys. You've got budgetary concerns. You've got other things that feed into the budget, like parts counts and complexities and, amount of paint. There are so many factors that limit what these people can do when they make these toys. If you want to customize a figure and make it look amazing, that's great. But you're not working within a budget. You're not designing the figure from the ground up within a very strict framework. You are an individual person who is doing this with basically no shackles whatsoever, other than just the physical being of the figure itself. That's your limitation. You can buy, use whatever kinds of paints you want. You can 3D print stuff sometimes, or get 3D printed stuff to change entire parts, like heads and stuff like that. For someone who's customizing a figure, the sky's the limit. That is not the case with the initial design of that figure. Then there's just the basic fact that somebody not liking something does not inherently mean it's broken. If it's broken, yes. Like, for example, Studio Series 86 Jazz with the clear plastic door hinge. When that breaks, that is objectively broken. That does not mean the figure itself as a whole is broken. It's like that one thing is prone to breaking, but like it's not the best design decision, but that design decision was most likely made due to constraints set by the company. Or it could be that everything was fine, but for whatever reason, the chemical qualities of the plastic that they used wasn't up to snuff and resulted in things breaking. Like, there's so many factors that could be attributing to that one specific thing. But above all else, us not liking a figure in no way means that it's broken, or that it, by extension, needs fixing. Now, getting back to what I was saying before, when mass-produced figures are mass-produced, they can't go in and meticulously cover all of these little details like a customizer can, because that's just not feasible. They want this stuff to be able to sell. And usually when they're mass producing it, they want it to sell en masse, because mass production. So in order to do that, they can't very well sit there and have someone meticulously painting every little aspect of it. So figures, by and large, are going to be missing detail, whether it's due to plastic distribution, or where the paint goes, or whatever. And that's just how it goes with mass release stuff like this. That is not laziness or a shortcoming of the designers or anything like that. It's just the realities of mass producing something. And if you wanted something to be perfect out of the box, then it's going to cost more. You may be willing to pay that, but that's just you. When they're producing figures on such an absurdly large scale, they want to sell as much of that product as possible. And so they want it to be within a price point that they feel will sell best. That may not happen if they have to jack up the price a bunch because they're spending a lot of extra money making sure all these little intricate details are painted. Yes, there are going to be figures, there have been figures, there will be figures in the future that come out and it's like, well, this could do with some more detailing. This could do with a better paint job, whatever. Like, yes, absolutely. I'm not denying that. But again, coming back to the original point, that does not mean the figure is broken or needs fixing. It means that the figure is a physical thing that has to exist in reality that is being produced by a big company. If you want your official Transformers toys to be perfect and not be missing any important details, not have any gaps or whatever, have these perfect alt modes and perfect robot modes, you're not going to get them for $25 retail. That's just not going to happen. To just kind of get back to my original point, all of this is to just give examples as to why the idea of, oh look, I fixed Hasbro's figure, is such a mean-spirited, insulting, and reductive way of approaching this kind of thing. You're customizing a figure, you're not fixing it, because it wasn't broken to begin with. It's not a sentiment that I have on my own customs because I'm not fixing the figure, I'm customizing what's already there. I don't want to call people out. And I don't, it's a terminology that some people I think are just using because that's the terminology that other people use. So I'm not trying to say that people echoing that terminology are bad, but it's when people say, oh, I fixed this and stuff that really bothers me. But whenever someone has in the past responded to one of my customs saying oh, you fixed it, it makes me because no, I didn't fix it. I painted it. I did not fix anything. It's the same figure. The only difference is the paint. it's such, I know I keep saying this, but it really does bother me because it's so insulting to all of the people, not the company, the people, the real people that poured a lot of time and effort into making these figures. They may not be successful all the time. They're not successful all the time, but they still put effort into it. They put some of themselves into this stuff. I'm not saying we need to give a bad figure a pass for anything like that, because a bad figure is a bad figure. But we don't need to be so mean and insulting about it all the time. We don't need to act like there aren't people who are behind these things. It's just so short-sighted and so, again, mean. We don't need to be like that. We can be critical without being cruel. That's all I've got to say on this subject. This one's going to be a lot shorter than some of the other stuff I've done, but because I feel like I'm talking in circles. But it's just something that's been bugging me for a long time, and I wanted to talk about briefly. So that's what I've got on the topic of fixing figures. And again, this is specifically in response to customizers saying that they've fixed a figure when it's like they didn't fix anything, they painted it. Whether or not you agree with me, I'm pretty sure most of the people watching this aren't quite as irritated by this thing as I am, because it hits close to home for me personally. But regardless, I'd like to know your thoughts. I'm hoping that anyone who might have previously harbored feelings like this was at least willing to listen to what I had to say, regardless of how energetic I've been about the subject. And I'd like to think that this might at least get people to, if not change the way they think about this stuff, to at least reconsider. You know, at the very least, I want to hopefully get some people to rethink how they see this stuff. Gotta finish editing and posting this video to see what happens there, right? So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. No idea what that's gonna be. I'm kind of out of ideas currently. I suppose I could do the whole slug thing, but I really don't want to because I feel like that's just going to invite a lot of annoying discourse. But we'll see. Thanks for watching. See you in whatever the next one's gonna be. Should I make Schnitz Bites the sign-off for this video series? I don't know. Probably not. But hey, if anyone gets the reference, you're awesome.